Hey everyone! If you're enjoying the coverage of the Pro Play Tour Online series, just remember, you can play in one yourself. Every Thursday you can enter our free weekly 64-player tournament with invites to the entire Top Cut. Every Saturday is our Weekend Championship, where you can enter a YCS-type event with 100% payout and even a cash payout option. The more players, the bigger the prizes. Can't commit time to play in our one-day events? We also host multiple 8-man pods daily, ready to fire on demand on your own schedule. All these events award invites to our free invite-only Players Championship, May 9th through 10th, with prizes supplied by our sponsors. For more information, visit ppgeventmanagement.com and come play with the pros.
Round 7 of the Tour Weekly Championship. I'm Alex Emo, joined by Mr. Joseph Rothschild. We've got another feature match for you. It's a little bit difficult. We're trying to sift through some of the just Adamantipator and Eldlich, which are everywhere. Shocker, right? So we're going to be bringing you an Eldlich, but we're bringing you back a Dinosaur player that we featured in a previous round because we saw Dino go up against Adamantipator, but Dino versus Eldlich would actually be an interesting one to watch. We want to get to see some more potential of the Arnimador Archosaur and see how that helps Dinosaur in any way combat this Eldlich threat. Unfortunately, it looks like Eldlich is going to be going first here, and pretty well with this board. We got to see a couple activations of both Conquistador and YuGiOh get banished to get a cursed, to get two Eldlichers onto the board. One of them presumably being Scarlet, probably being white. And then 3 sets. We also have Golden Lord in Graveyard, which White Destiny can get well. I'm curious to see how Dinosaur navigate this. There are ways, but with Animador and Archosaur, there's also a heavier emphasis on the going first version of Dinosaur. So let's see what our opponent can do here.
So obviously Dinosaur is exceptionally good at setting up first turn combo boards that include things like VFD, but it's also very strong when it comes to activating its effects in order to deal with its opponent's threats. An Infinite Impermanence here coming down for the Overraptor, but a Miscellaneousaurus will quickly deal with that.
Yep, it looks like it. So this will resolve. We're going to see a Chain 4 here, as a matter of fact. Chainlink 1 Oviraptor, Chainlink 2 Scarlet, Chainlink 3 Imperm, Chainlink 4 Miscellaneousaurus. Resolve backwards, Miscellaneousaurus Imperm fizzles. Scarlet will summon Golden Lord, but Raptor will now resolve. And we see that Ismail is going to dig into the deck for whatever he wants, because Oviraptor is just that powerful of a card.
Yeah, Overraptor is insane. This is a little crusty. You kind of need a way to get another monster into the graveyard so you can target that monster with the Overraptor in order to destroy your baby that's going to end up on the field. Or you need to add a baby to your hand so you can use Miscellaneousaurus's effect in order to summon the Argosaur and destroy it that way. There's a couple of different directions you can take this in. I'm interested to see what direction Dinosaur tends to take it into when face down with trap cards.
Not to mention, Victor does still have 3 cards in the back row. Gonna go for Dogoron here just to completely blank this Golden Lord. We see an immediate activation of YuGiOh here, which pretty much, seeing the Kaiju forces it, we have to get rid of this Miscellaneousaurus here while Golden Lord still lives. One of the things that Dinosaur has going for it is that since Dogoron is a dinosaur, it is searchable Raptor.
Yeah, and now with 2 cards on their side of the field, it's Pankratops time, holding on to that forever.
Pankratops hitting the board. Going to represent a threat here. It's a 2600 attack, is nothing to scoff at, but also the ability to pop cards at will is one of the reasons why this card is limited.
Yeah, obviously this card was extremely powerful. At 3, at 1, it is similarly strong, and at this point, the only deck that can find it with any sort of relative consistency is Dinosaur.
Right, absolutely, because back in the day, you were able to just side deck 3 copies or even main deck 3 copies if you were playing a blind. Now, I mean, people still will side deck that single copy, but I mean, playing Dinosaur, you can just natively access it at will, so that just makes it much easier to go for. We're going to go to face here for Ismail. Pankratops going over YuGiOh for 800 damage if this attack connects. YuGiOh will not be able to activate in the end phase because both of the effects of these cards have to be used one or the other, and since he used the effect to banish, he will not be able to regenerate that advantage until his following turn. But we're going to see a Conquistador activation in response to the attack here, so that means that we're not only going to get the Conquistador, but we could potentially pop one of the cards here. But actually, oh no, Miscellaneousaurus.
Yeah, they're both protected by Miscellaneousaurus.
And so
we are chaining Pankratops.
Yep, so Pankratops will be chained in response to this. Maybe go after the final back row, or maybe even Golden Lord potentially, because Golden Lord getting popped would mean the Conquistador doesn't do anything, but it doesn't do anything anyway. Actually just going to take out the Conquistador, interestingly enough.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. we did activate the effect of Miscellaneousaurus, right?
I believe so, because that was used in response to the Imperm activation. But
And
it's
then a
only
path.
wait. Is Miscellaneousaurus only during the main phase? Not the.
Oh, it is. You're right.
Right,
It is
that's why.
main
Okay,
phase
I was about
only.
to say. I think we're overthinking this. Yeah, Miscellaneousaurus is only main phase, so that's why he was using that during battle phase. Now everything makes sense, but it's still it was a bit confusing there for a sec. But now we're good. But unfortunately, just a pass here from Ismail, just ending on this lone copy of Oviraptor. Really couldn't get much going here. And he's going to have a pretty big uphill battle because all of these Eldlich cards are just going to recur themselves during the end phase, and we're pretty much back to square one.
Yeah, there's just so little to say about how this deck interacts with its opponent. You know, it can lose all of the advantage in the world via Miscellaneousaurus, doing its best to negate its opponent's plays, via Pankratops popping the individual cards. And it's not going to matter at the end of the day because they can just banish them at end step and go further regardless.
We have the potential to get a Golden Lord back from the graveyard. We've got cards on the field to do that. Scarlet Sanguine can get another Golden Lord spell or trap. We also have the Conquistador Engrave, which can get another Scarlet just to have access to yet another copy of Golden Lord. It's the deck that doesn't quit, right? There's a reason why this deck is so good. There's a reason why this deck is actually the most represented deck in this tournament, actually ahead of Adamantipator by a slim margin. And we'll bring you guys that data a little bit later on tonight, if not first thing tomorrow morning before top 16. But now here we go. We're just going to send that set card to bring back our Golden Lord, and we might just be swinging for a ton of damage here.
All right, so looks like that is what we are going to be doing. This isn't lethal, is it? We go into Gustav Max here, then we walk over for 5K. No, doesn't look like it.
Yep, so we're just going to swing with the Golden Lord for 17. We're going to get an extra 25 and another 18 for 47, I believe that would add up to. So we're going to leave.
Looks like I'm actually really bad at math. This is exact lethal.
It's exact lethal. Now we can just go main phase 2, go to Gustav Max, and that will represent the end of the game, unless Ismail has any way to stop this Gustav Max activation here.
Effect Veiler now. Nope.
And so there we go. Game 2. Victor pretty convincingly taking that game 1. Man, it's just seeing these decks play more and more, you realize how powerful they truly are. When your deck has easy access to a card like Gustav Max to be able to just put that much pressure on your opponent, and you realize that if you fall below that 2K threshold, it's like the game is over. It's kind of like Burning Abyss back in the day. You know, as soon as you were within bar range, like you were just doomed.
Yeah, it was just a matter of time until your opponent was able to fire off the old barb and get in for lethal. The fact that this deck can play Gustav Max does certainly feel unfair. You know, this is a deck that kind of stumbles in putting up aggressive lines, talking specifically about pure builds right now, not the Auroradon ones. But unfortunately, it gets to just randomly get to lethal sometimes by virtue of the 2,000 point burn damage it has access to. Definitely doesn't feel right.
So Ismail actually forcing Victor to go first. I mean, that is just so dangerous, forcing Eldlich to go first. I mean, granted, you're playing Dinosaur. Granted, you're playing a ton of cards for going second. And granted, in some instances, you may want to side deck specific blowout cards that can just take him out. And looking at this, Victor just setting a single card and passing.
Wow. I mean, that's pretty good. We're going to activate a Fossil Dig.
Yeah, you got to feel pretty good about this if you're Ismail right now.
I guess you're playing around hand traps, but like with Miscellaneousaurus, there's so little you actually have to worry about. Adding it to the hand now, telegraphing that he already has the Oviraptor. Yeah, going to activate that effect, and I don't know. Maybe worth activating Miscellaneousaurus before the Oviraptor in order to play around like a Solemn Strike specifically, but that's a pretty corner case.
Yeah, I would say so as well. There's very few cards that can like really deal with this Miscellaneousaurus, and Oviraptor in itself can represent a huge chunk of damage here, and I'll be curious to see the follow-up is. We're going to grab Baby Ceratosaurus with this Oviraptor, potentially see some combo plays with that. We're going to pitch the Miscellaneousaurus. Yep. If he doesn't have Called by the Grave, this is going to be DD Crow. That's it's not pretty close. It's not Called by the Grave, but it's probably the second best card it could have been.
Do we have a second Miscellaneousaurus? That's the next question.
The reason why that's also good is because now with Animadorn Archosaur, you only need a single Miscellaneousaurus to get that card to the field. Then you can pop the Baby hand that you just added with the Oviraptor. And but it looks like we're just going to see Ismail go to battle phase, swing for this 18, and that DD might have stifled Ismail's ability to really capitalize on the fact that his opponent had a single card.
Can't help but think that doing this in the reverse order would have been much better. If you lead with Miscellaneousaurus and then normal summon a copy of Soul Eating Oviraptor, they have to DD Crow as soon as you send the Miscellaneousaurus. And if that's the case, then afterwards you're able to get a second Miscellaneousaurus off of the Oviraptor instead of the baby. You can fire the Miscellaneousaurus, get to Argosaur no matter what, and at least end on Ultimate Conductor Tyranno.
So we saw Victor fire off the YuGiOh at the end phase here because he wants to be able to link it off in tandem with this copy of Mecha Fantasy Align for Crystron Needle Fiber. YuGiOh will then be able to trigger in the end phase since it has not used an effect this turn. Just getting it to the graveyard through linking is one of the best means. And now we can start doing these shenanigans that Crystron Needle Fiber has shown us all throughout the course of this tournament. We're going to get Despot 001, and now we're going to be able to go into stuff like Auroradon and pretty much just do the crazy combo plays that people wouldn't expect an Eldlich deck being capable of doing.
Yeah. So from this position, it's not very difficult to weave through combo lines. You get to go into Dawn here. You get to summon a bunch of tokens, bring the 001 back from the graveyard, go into a copy of Olion. I mean, the possibilities are effectively endless from here.
And with only a lone copy of Oviraptor on Ismail's field, I mean, again, I wouldn't say it's over. One of the interesting things is, and we talked about even either round 1 or 2, the possibility of side decking cards against Eldlich that you wouldn't normally side deck. But now that you see that Eldlich has this combo component to it, thanks to in part to the Crystron Needle Fiber and the Auroradon, you could very well want to side deck a card like, like Nibiru for like this very specific instance.
Yeah, I mean, Eldlich with Auroradon. I mean, Eldlich was already very hard to board against because none of the normal floodgates tend to hit it. But Eldlich with Auroradon now has this combo finish that sometimes they just don't draw. So occasionally you're boarding into Nibirus, you're boarding into summon limits if you're going first, just for your opponent to set 5 pass. I mean, it's just a miserable time.
So now it looks like we're just going through the motions here. Victor's just looking through the graveyard, contemplating how he wants to go next. This should end in nothing less than a Borreload Savage Dragon, and what else to end on here?
Well, it depends on how dedicated Victor is to the Auroradon half of the deck. Going for a Eldlich in hand right now, and then afterwards probably going to perform a Link Summon. Maybe activate the effect of Dawn for 2. It depends on if they're on a copy of Coltwing. If that's the case, the game is literally over right now. If they go for an Olion instead, it's still likely over because they'll be able to bring back the Eldlich with the equipped card to Borreload Savage, do 3,000, 35, and then any monster is lethal.
Right. So here comes Arclight.
Okay.
So now we just need a way to, like you said, we just have to get Savage Dragon to the field and then get that equipped card, which we can then send for Eldlich the Golden Lord's effect, because we need to just make as much utility as possible.
This is the third effect of Mecha Phantom Beast Auroradon, which puts a trap card from your graveyard back in your hand. There's no way that's the play.
Okay, so we're going to see if it pays off. He's going to get YuGiOh back. He's going to send it to the graveyard, resummon this copy of Eldlich the Golden Lord. That is going to be 35, 21 for 56, 600 for 6,200 damage here. That's not enough.
I mean, it's not. It's very funny, though. It's just so hilarious.
I was gonna say, I don't think any of us were expecting that.
When was the last time you've seen the third effect of Auroradon activated? I would say never.
Considering that I don't think I've seen this much Auroradon in a single day in my life. If we're gonna go that far, let alone the third effect of Auroradon activate. But
oh gosh.
It is a line, I suppose. This gives you the ability, now you have Arclight to protect your field from whatever threat. But again, like, I can't help but feel that this is... I mean, unless there's another card he has, but didn't he normal summon the Olion to get to this board?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's not even, like... And plus it's Eldlich. They don't really play many normal summons regardless. So this is just going to be 35, 56, 6,200, like I said earlier. I mean, that's going to leave
close.
It's very close, but it's not the game. And Ismail still has a 6-card hand.
Yeah. The Herald of the Arclight, of course, is an Omni-Negate, which is important, and it's also a Macrocosmos, which is good against Dinosaurs specifically, but it's not that bad if you have to go to battle phase in order to out it before you get to chew your opponent's board apart with the multitude of threats that Dinosaur possesses. I mean, this board is also pretty weak to Lightning Storm.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Herald of the Arclight does represent a negate, but I mean, there's still plenty of ways to play through a single Arclight. We saw in the end phase, Wakedo on Victor's side got banished to get a copy of Scarlet Sanguine, but like, again, that doesn't do anything. That just puts another Golden Lord on the field as a blocker at the very least. Herald of the Arclight's the only card you're worried about here. I guess potentially the macro effect could matter because it would affect
send Miscellaneous Horse to the graveyard, for example.
Correct. Yes, we were talking about that in a previous feature match with like Abyss Dweller matching up against Eldlich or against Dinosaur, excuse me, specifically. So we're gonna have to see here again. Ismail's turn was very weak.
That's a good one.
He had.
Yep.
Evenly matched is a good one. Yep. Okay.
And the evenly match comes down, I think, probably fiends the Herald of the Arclight here. And do we have a second one? We might, actually.
If there was two, looks like there's not a second one. But again, your negation's gone, right? So now you're free to... you also don't have to worry about the macro being on board. So if you have Miscellaneous Source, now it's active. You're pretty much free to do this entire turn, albeit you're devoid of your battle phase, unfortunately. It's still not the worst. I think there's definitely worse situations here. And now we have Animador and Archosaur hitting the field. We might start to see some popping off.
So Animador and Archosaur, of course, will destroy the Baby Ceratosaurus in hand. That'll turn into an Oviraptor, and the Oviraptor will activate its effect. We already have a Miscellaneousaurus in hand. I mean, this is really good. Yeah,
I mean, this could just ultimately turn the game around in Ismail's favor, and he might have a chance to take this to a game 3.
And a fun fact, Double Evolution Pill doesn't have one target. You know, Ultimate Conductor Tyranno is the one that you see a lot, but Overtext Coddles is also pretty good against decks that want to resolve the effects of spells and traps.
One thing that Ismail does have to be mindful of is the fact that other Scarlet Queen in Victor's back row, at any point, he could just take both of his Golden Lords and just overlay for Gustav Max and just end the game. So
yeah, we're in that zone.
Yeah, so Ismail at the very least does need to have a way to have at least a monster effect negation or clear off this current copy of Golden Lord so that way we don't have to worry about it. Ultimate Conductor Tyranno will work because then you could just flip the Golden Lords face down, potentially making it so that they're not able to Xyz summon with them.
Well, you'd wait until your opponent summons Gustav, but
correct.
Same deal.
Right, yeah. Effectively, you would still shut it down, but you just need some way to threaten them to stop them from being able to Gustav Max you. That is the point I was trying to drive across.
Mm-hmm. So we can potentially activate Miscellaneousaurus here. Getting an Aeolo from deck enables... Oh. That's a good effect, Veiler, but not great.
Yeah, it's not game-winning, I would say. There's still Miscellaneousaurus and Oviraptor and Grave, so he still has the ability to get Tyranno to the field. There's still plays here, but that Veiler does definitely hurt.
So we get to go into an Aeolo here by activating the effect of Miscellaneousaurus. That turns into a Needle Fiber, and of course that turns into an O-Lion, and then we are off to the races as per usual.
Ismail just taking a look at the graveyard here, just to make sure he's not missing anything. He does have some other dinosaurs he could work with just to get him a slightly bigger dinosaur, but I agree with you, getting to the tuner just to getting to the Halifibrax is probably the best way to go about it. I just love that we're at the point now where pretty much every top meta deck is playing Halifibrax with packages just to facilitate these absurd Auroradon lines that we've seen all weekend.
You are happy about this? I would personally say that I am not very happy about it.
Well, not that I'm happy about it. That's probably a poor choice. It's rather astonishing that we've got to this point, that because before there were some decks taking advantage of it, but not to this degree. But it seems now that every top meta deck is playing the Halifibrax Auroradon package in some capacity.
I remember when Auroradon was spoiled, I thought it was going to be its own fully fledged archetype, and it turns out that is not the case. While it is not its own fully fledged archetype, it is very much a 4 to 6 card engine in basically every other archetype, which is something.
So now it looks like we're going to link off the Animadorn Archosaur for Link Career, but we actually banished Miscellaneous Source and Soul Oviraptor for a copy of Petite Pteranodon.
Yeah, we're just getting to Ultimate Conductor Tyranno here. That's 2 dinosaurs in graveyard, so we'll be able to do that. And Petite Pteranodon, because it was summoned off of Miscellaneous Source, will die at end step, which will, of course, turn into a Pankratops.
Right. I mean, Ultimate Conductor Tyranno plus Pankratops seems fine. Again, it's not like the most intimidating board, but it's enough to at least stave off these potential Golden Lords at the very least.
That's pretty good.
And so looks like we're linking off now. Okay. What? Wasn't expecting that. Typically when you see that, wow. Okay, so Nightmare Phoenix coming down, pitching Giant Rex, destroying Sanguine, but that's going to prompt the Sanguine to be used in response to getting another copy of Golden Lord to the field. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know about this line. At the very least, you get to summon the Giant Rex to your side of the field, so you get a rank 4 alongside the Coddles that you're likely to go into. What rank 4 would be really good against this deck? Dweller?
Dweller would probably be best possible outcome here, because then you can stop them from using their Eldlich cards in grave. Again, like, you also have your Conductor trying to... Oh, going for... Oh, he already has a Tyranno in hand. Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to have Coddles, Tyranno, a rank 4. I mean, that's pretty strong, honestly.
That is pretty strong, yeah. I think that should be enough to maybe force a game 3 here. Like, not 100% sure. But that seems like it would be enough to do the job. You prevent your opponent from getting to Gustav Max. You have protection from battle from taking damage. Dweller just completely shuts down the Eldlich graveyard, so that way they have no way to get any of their resources back. Victor's going to need a hell of a top deck to be able to get back into this one.
Yeah, I mean... It's not a very... it doesn't look like it has a lot of negates on it. But this board interacts with the deck in a really, really interesting way. I assume we'll see a chain of Scarlet Sanguine to that Abyss Dweller.
I would, because that would at least get us another card that we can work with, potentially, if we want to do anything with these Golden Lords here. But we haven't seen any response yet, so maybe Dweller actually just did, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, Dweller is so good against this particular board.
Go. Yeah, so that is actually going to prompt the Scarlet to be used in response. So now we're going to go ahead and get one of our, our Golden Lord spells and traps. We've got our YuGiOh, Conquistador. None of them particularly matter at this moment. I guess YuGiOh is like fine. There's nothing in the graveyard that's like too pertinent to deal with right now. If anything, he just wants it for fodder for Golden Lords. But this is tough if you're Victor.
So the one problem from the Dinosaur player's perspective is that the Auroradon can't be placed face down. So if you use the Auroradon effect, attributing itself and either what you drew for the turn or one of the Eldliches to go into an Olion, you potentially have the ability to extend into further Halqifibrax plays and do the Auroradon line again. If that's the case, you can build a board even after your opponent has set both of your... Golden Lords. It looks like we're going for the first Auroradon effect. This is the one that destroys an opponent's monster. He's going to have to ask for a response because this card does not target.
So we're going to see if that resolves. I was going to say, I think another potential way that Victor could have cleaned this one up, if he's playing it, because it definitely depends on whether or not he's playing the card. If he had Access Code Talker, I believe he could have just gone for that and just swung over and won the game.
This is actually lethal anyway. If you chain the Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, you just flip the Eldliches back up and overlay. And if you don't chain the Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, you just overlay the Eldliches.
Right, so it's pretty much just
targeting coming in fancy.
Yeah, some of the more seldom effects, or it's much more than just a token producer, even though the main purpose. So Victor Lee moving on with a 1 record, I believe, 6-1. Very, I'm pretty much, I'm almost certain he's locked for top 16 at this point.
Yeah, if you lose your last round at X1.
Right, so he should be perfectly fine. So we have at least a little bit more Eldlich coming with Auroradon. Guys, that's going to do it for round 7. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We might bring another one, but if not, we will see you in round 8. Don't go anywhere. We will be back very soon.
Hey everyone.
Still looking to earn your invite for the free Players Championship on May 9th and 10th? Visit ppgeventmanagement.com to learn about the different qualifiers available. From one-day events to play-on-your-own-schedule events, all events offer a buyback or cash option along with a 100% credit option redeemable towards any future pre-order at competitive prices. Grinding and getting paid to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Has never been easier. Play with the most professional worldwide tournament series today and join the online community. Come join us on Discord for assistance, info, and even discussions about future events.